South Bend, Indiana is a fast growing mid sized city with new opportunities for art, business, and entertainment popping up every single day. In my time living here in South Bend, I've learned that it is a city full of hardworking, creative people who truly believe in the value of their community and work hard every single day to improve that. I never understand when people say there's nothing to do in South Bend, when there's really so many wonderful music venues, theaters, and art galleries all around the city. Through my project, I wanted to talk to a few people who made their living as artists and creatives in South Bend. I wanted to know if it was hard for them to make a living as an artist, living in such a small town, and I also wanted to know if they had any tips for me as an aspiring artist as to how I could work harder and someday become a part of this growing community of artists and creatives in such a wonderful town. My first stop was with a business owner and painter named Julian Alcantar. Julian owns and operates Gallery 2910, a gallery, music venue, and studio he built for the community.
Every first Friday, we feature a different artist. They're usually local and regional. And so they stay here for about a month and we switch it up. And that's mainly what we use this space for. So we have this, we kind of incorporated being, an artist with having a business, and, that comes in hand incorporating your own artwork, which is what we've done.
Have you felt that it's difficult working in South Bend, or have you had any?
So no, it's not difficult at all. I mean, and that's definitely a thought that it's within the collective, in South Bend. That the fact that you have to move out, you gotta go to a bigger city. That's what everyone says. But I don't blame them because it's such a small city. And when you're just getting yourself, into whatever it is that you think you want to do, South Bend might seem a little intimidating because it's there's nothing to do. Everyone always say that. But I think it's two types of people that exist. I think, there's those who like to take on a lead and, kind of just be the first ones, if you will, at a certain thing, whatever they want to do. And there are those people that like to, for example, work for a bigger company somewhere else in a bigger city or something like that. So, on that matter is, it works and it doesn't. It works because, if you go out and you experience different things, that's totally, it's more than encouraged. Go out and see some things out there in South Bend. And if you don't feel connected with South Bend, that's cool. No one's going to be mad at you. But if you do feel connected to where you're from and you want to make an impact, definitely go out there and experience other things. And then you can bring them back here. And South Bend is really easy because it's small enough. It's pretty small, but it's big enough for those who are looking, like I said, for those who are looking to make a difference or to make an impact with their craft or whatever it is they want to do. This is definitely a good ground because it's not that expensive. It's easy to live here. Rent is not that much, and you can take care of yourself very easily. I myself am very grateful to be able to do this in South Bend and offer what we do to the community. Really, what it represents for me is, like I said, it's just kind of like a meditative way of easing yourself, in the day and life. As being an artist simply just means being a sovereign being and being in control of who you think you are or who you want to represent yourself to the world. How you want to represent yourself, you're in charge of that. And then if you can make a living from that, that's really good. I used to be a bartender. I used to bartend for a long time. That's how I made my living. And I used to have these big old parties because I always loved to party. I'm all about partying and having fun, and that's one of the qualities of my work. My work is very uplifting and energetic because I've always been that type of person that I always like to be around people, gathering people, and having a good time. But before, I wasn't in art, I wasn't painting, and I didn't have anything to present to people. It was just, hey, let's get together, drink some beer, and have a blast. As I started to paint and became an artist, I guess, the people that, who already followed me per se, or the friends that I had already built through bartending, then started to be interested on the new things I was doing, you know. So I now had a reason to throw these parties. You know, I was like, hey, come see my artwork, you know. And so one thing leads to another, and you know, you kind of realize, okay, now I need to do this for a living. You know, I need to get serious, if you will. But that I just mean, you know, have a focused mind and really just, you know, put your passion a priority in your life. I mean, I tell every time one of the kids come to paint and they start looking at the paintings, and they sometimes I overhear, or sometimes maybe their parents will let me know, and they'll be saying something along the lines where, when I grow up, I want to be an artist, or when she grows up, she wants to be an artist. My answer to that right away is, you can start being an artist now. Like, you're 5, you can tell yourself you're an artist, and you're going to be an artist. You know, that's all it takes. Just tell yourself you're an artist. If you really want to have a passion for, and this relates, you know, anything, not just in art. If you have a passion for anything, you have to believe yourself first, otherwise people won't believe it. You know, so just believe it fully, and everything else just takes care of it.
I really appreciated my time spent speaking with Julian. He wakes up every single day and does what he loves and gets paid pretty well for it. That's something I really admire. My next stop was with a man named Tim Yerrington. Tim is an avid painter and designer. He's also a good friend of mine. He creates posters for musicians across multiple genres, as well as working for a print company called Zip Printing. He is a man of faith and tries to incorporate his love of God into everything he does every single day, especially his art, as his talents were something given to him by God, and he wants to use them to their full potential.
I was already a huge music fan from, you know, my preteen days, and grew up listening to a wide variety of music: rock, jazz, classical, country, a little bit of everything. And there's really nothing that I excluded. But I found that a lot of my friends were either in a band or solo artists, and they all had graphic design needs. And there's plenty of venues in South Bend and Mishawaka, Elkhart, surrounding Michiana area to do design work for and promote bands, promote the artists, promote the musicians, and there's a lot to be done here in South Bend.
Do you prefer to consider yourself an artist or a designer? Which one do you like better?
I don't draw hard and fast lines between those exclusively artist / designer. I mean, I've been trained as an illustrator and graphic designer, but I've come to love both. And I mean, I also paint. I've painted in the folk art world. I was known as Ty the Portrait Guy, and I did a lot of early portraits of blues artists, early rock and roll artists on acrylic on wood, and I became known in that world for that stuff. But I don't make hard and fast lines. I mean, if you're creative, it's going to bleed over into every area of your life. Like, it disturbs me when people say, oh, I'm not creative, but let's say they're an accountant. They have to figure out budgets and numbers and make it all work, and they might have to figure out exactly how to make a certain dollar amount work within a month for a company to pay bills, cash flow, etc. That's a creative feat, whether they think it is or not. Or a person that's a chef, that's a very creative thing. You follow a recipe, but then as you get experience, you freewheel it because you think, oh, I know this will taste good, this matches well, blends well, etc. So, well, anytime you create, I don't think you're creating alone, because God has put within everyone gifts, and there are different creative gifts, whether they're speaking or being a writer or a poet or a playwright or a homemaker or a great mom, being a great dad. That all requires creativity, and I've always tried to incorporate that into my life. And then when you're creating, you're cooperating with the creator, because obviously there's order and design to everything that's repeated throughout the world, in the natural world, in the physical world, as well as the spiritual world. There's patterns that take place, and we get to be participants in that when we create. A matter of trust and faith and confidence that you step out to do something. You might walk to the edge and look out. There's no ground there, but the funny thing I have found in my experience is that it's the ground won't appear till you step out, and then once you step out, then there's solid ground and you're stable. Well, the first thing I would say, the first three things that you have to know about yourself is your passion, your gifts, and your talents, and when those line up with when all those three things overlap, you find purpose. Your gifts, your talents, and your passion. Because if one of those are lacking, then you won't feel fulfilled, or you won't be able to make ends meet. But when those, intersect and overlap, that's where you find your purpose, by doing those things and really being true to what you feel God's placed in your heart to do and create and be.